We're rebuilding the shifter tower for this is for a 97 F250. This is a ZF5, the SB47, I believe. It's the bigger of the two. Data plate's gone on this transmission, so I know it's the heavier one, but I don't have the data plate to prove that anymore. But 42, 47, whichever one was the beefier one. Anyway, once you are ready to rebuild this was leaking pretty badly. I've already wiped it down, got it pretty clean so I can deal with it. But you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I believe those are 13 millimeter screws that have to come out. I've already taken these loose as well, so I can just lift this off and show you how it's all put together. So once this comes up, you don't want anything falling in this hole, so I suggest you cover it. But while you've got it up, you want to look at the transmission fluid. Mine's nice and red still. Quick side story on this transmission: when I bought this truck, I put about 30,000 miles on it, and it was making a bunch of transmission noise before I even opened it up to look inside of it. So I should have cued to that because it was empty. There was no ATF fluid inside this transmission. And by the way, it uses automatic transmission fluid in a manual. So don't screw up and put something else in there. But I put the transmission fluid in and it quieted down, and that's been 100,000 miles since, so no damage obviously. I'm not touching any of this at the moment. I'm gonna leave that right where it is. Don't want that popping out. And I'm gonna cover this in the meantime until I get around to cleaning off this gasket. So I'm just gonna take a rag and I'm gonna put that over there so nothing can fall in. Got the tower on the bench now to take a look at it. I've separated the two pieces here, the tower from the shifter cover, setting that aside. This kit is from Allstate Gear. It was 33 bucks plus shipping and tax, which wasn't much, $6.35 to ship it. The couple of bucks in taxes came out to $42.55 total. It's a pretty nice kit for its price. I've seen them up to 90 bucks, so I'm trying this one out and see how it works. We've got the two PTO covers. I'm not going to replace the PTO cover gaskets because they're fine, they're not leaking, and my fluid is still good. Then we've got this cover gasket and the other cover gasket that goes on top of that piece. So we will put some RTV sealant on those when we put them on. These are the two replacement pieces for here and here. This likely is the boot ring that goes in there. And then we've got a new cover, of course, new bolts, and two new O-rings. So we'll start taking this apart and show you how it works. So either the old kit that was on here or the factory one, I'm not sure which one this is. There's two gaskets. So this one is similar to the one I'm going to be using here. And then there was a green one that was put on, and we're not using RTV on this section because this has a bevel right here that is making an imprint. So we're going to clean this up, get this clear of any kind of oil and debris using a rag, and then we're going to scrape this off without damaging this piece. We don't want to scar that anywhere. And then we'll fit the new piece on when we assemble it. In the meantime, we've got to take this ring out to take this boot out. And I'll see if I can show you how to do that. So we've got the green gasket off. The other piece is just using razor blade, just snapped right off, so I didn't have to scrape anything. We're going to now push this through. We'll get to that ring. And pull this all the way off because I don't care about damaging that boot because we're replacing it. All right, now I've got access to my cover here, so I'm going to put that in the vise in here, and we will take that ring out. Okay, we're going to attempt to pop this ring out. It's under tension. You always want to wear safety glasses when you're doing this kind of work. Also notice there's a little booger here where someone tried to use a chisel to pop this loose. I have no idea why, but people do weird stuff. So I'm going to try to get behind this ring, pull it up. Came out really easy. Pull that out. Probably do one-handed. All right, there we go. Now the boot should come right out. Now I'm going to clean this up and we'll reinsert the boot, new boot. So the old boot didn't have the extension up here like that. That's kind of nice. That's going to protect it a little bit better. And I'm not cleaning up the old cap because I've got a new cap here. I'm going to go ahead and put this in place, and the ring in place, because I can't do all that single-handed. All right, the only way I can figure out how to get this ring in here is go ahead and pull the boot up past where it rests, which is here against this back plate here, and get the ring in with all of this flexible and loose, and then pull that boot back down and try to seat it. That's what I'm going to try to do here. So that's working. I'm just basically going around and working this ring into the lip all the way around, and then I'll slip it down inside. Okay, the ring is in place. Now all I have to do is push this down, pull it down here, and seat this part here against the plate. That worked. I've got it seated mostly now. I just got to pull these little kinks out, and that should be complete. Okay, that worked out pretty good. Don't use anything sharp, just use your fingers and just work it around until everything's smooth all the way around the surface, and you're good to go. That's what we're going to set aside. So you can use a razor blade to just lightly scrape all the gasket material off, as well as any of the sealant that's on there. There's no RTV or anything on this. It's just, I think, just the fabric paper, the gasket material. Be sure not to lose any of that material. Get this really clean, and do the same thing on the top of the shifter. It's not a bad idea when you're scraping this gasket to go ahead and put something inside here so the trash doesn't go in, or just be super careful and flick it all to the outside. If you do that, you're going to be okay. I'm not going to be real aggressive. I don't want to gouge any of this aluminum, so I'm going to come back with some gasoline on a rag and just carefully wipe this down to get off any residue and make sure it's clean. I'll probably pass over it again with some wash thinner to get any of that residual gasoline off. Don't get anything inside here. So you put a rag in there if you want to, but be careful with this piece. If that pops off, it's spring loaded. It might get lost. So a trick to cleaning the surface is not necessarily to scrape it this way, because that's when you gouge the aluminum. If you scrape across it this way, here we go. You scrape across it, holding it perpendicular, it'll take that material off without doing damage. Takes a little work. Again, one hand is not easy. But then you're not creating any highs and lows in the aluminum. You're actually flattening it out as you scrape this material off. Now you can run it through the parts wash and get all the little debris out of that stuff. When you put this back together, these pieces, the groove goes up. So make sure those are up when you slip it in. Those are the guides that sit up inside there that let this rock back and forth. And when you tighten this down, cross, tighten, and don't over torque it. Just snug these down. There's nothing but this groove that holds the gasket to the top of the tower. So there's no reason to over torque these, just snug them up. I don't know what the torque specifications on it, but my torque specifications are, good enough is what I call it. So now I'm just going to clean up the same way we did the bottom of the tower, and clean all this, flicking it away from the inside of the cover so I don't get any debris in there. Once you get that cleaned up, go ahead and set your tower on. This one's pretty good. And hold it down. That should do it. So just to make it easy, make sure you roll this back up in the center. And then when you set your tower on, make sure that ball goes directly in there. And then of course, that top copper looking piece is going to sit right on top of that thing. So very carefully, gasket, very carefully set that in place, and then you can start your screws. Okay, the torque specs are 7 pounds. Really can't get that with a torque wrench, so I just tighten it with a hex head wrench until I feel it bottom out, then I put about 7 pounds of pressure. These are 17. So that pretty much wraps it up. That's how you put it together. So before you close this area up, which you're going to be sealing that main cover in place, go ahead and test drive it. We're going to test drive it now. We're going to run it through all the 4x4 modes and put it on the road and see how the shifting goes along. This video is about the tower rebuild, but we just put a heavy-duty South Bend clutch in this unit too, so we're test driving it for that purpose. After test driving it, I'm satisfied that everything's good, working properly, so I'm going to use this 3M black caulk strip. It's 08578, and I'm going to lay it in around where all the old black stuff is. I'm not scraping this out. It's just going to make a better seal. Probably harder to get this cap off whenever I do need to take it off in the future, but hopefully that won't be for a couple 100,000 more miles, and I've already got 375,000 on this one. So we're going to put the cover on, bolt it down, and then we're going to put the two boots on, and then put the carpet back in place and the seat back in place.